there is a simple yet boring element, unglamorous element of management that makes a big difference to how you're perceived as a manager and your effectiveness as a manager. And that is the management of sickness absence. So let me go through the steps because they're very simple, very easy to do, and they make a big difference and they take little time. The first thing to do is to make sure that your entire team know what to do when they are sick, that they know the process. There is no ambiguity, it is clear. Write it up if you need to. The second is that they are to call in on the first day of sickness by a certain time, 9:30 or 10 o'clock, whatever fits in with your schedule and your work schedule, and they are to speak to you. So that cuts out this idea that they can text a friend at work who then comes and tells you that Sheila's not coming in today because she's not very well. No, you do not have that. If they are sick, they need to speak to you. And if you are not available because you're in a meeting or something like that, they need to know that you will phone them at some point during that first day of sickness to ask how they are. And to, yeah, it's not a I'm catching you out call. This is, are you okay? How are you? What are you doing to make yourself feel better? There's a couple of reasons for this phone call. One is that if people are swinging the lead a bit, then they may think twice about phoning in sick because they know they're going to have to speak to you. And it's easy to lie by text or stretch the truth by text. Much more difficult to do that when they're speaking to you directly. The second is, and I've done this a couple of times, is that I've spoken to someone, it's clear that they're not well, and I've been the one that's saying, you need to phone 111, or have you phoned your GP because something's wrong here, or you need to take some action. And this is really important to do because when we're really ill and we're lying on the floor and not feeling very well, it's not, we don't have the energy to go and phone the GP. Sometimes an outside prompt from someone saying you really do need to phone your GP is very important. I'm thinking here of a friend of mine who, after a week, it was discovered she had meningitis, but she was so ill she couldn't get past the doctor's receptionist because she felt so weak. And sometimes you as a manager can be really instrumental in that and help them out. So you just want to know, how are you? Are you okay? Are you taking all the stuff that you need to do? And that will give you some indication of when you can expect them back. Often the advice is just, go to bed, drink lots of water, sleep, take some paracetamol. I'll see you in a couple of days. That's fine. That's absolutely fine. Then when they come back from sickness, you do a return to work interview. And this is key. And you must do it for all members of staff, no exceptions. Everyone who comes back, they have to have a meeting with you, eyeball to eyeball, with a form, their name, dates of illness, and reason for illness. Now, reason for illness can be a little bit difficult because some things are private, and sometimes when there's a cultural or a gender difference between manager and an employee doesn't want to share a reason for illness, particularly if it's ongoing. If there is something ongoing and something a little bit more serious, then do speak to them about who else they would like to discuss that with within the company. An HR department, perhaps another manager that they're a friend with, or something like that. Just so you've got someone in the company who knows and is there to give them some support through their illness. And then they sign that form, and it takes 4 minutes, less. But again, if I am sort of swinging the lead a bit and thinking, I've drunk a bit too much, I don't think I'll come in today, I'll think again about doing that if I know that at the end of it I have got to face you and tell you a lie. Yep. So this is how you cut down all these incidental little illnesses. It's also how you show yourself to be a manager that follows correct process, and also how you show yourself to be a kind, but fair, but firm, but confidential manager. All those things that you want to portray as a manager. The final thing that I suggest you do, well, yes, you must always do actually, and I say this as an HR professional. If you work in a large company and you've got a process where the records are kept by HR, don't rely on that. Keep your own records of sickness, because HR processes have been known to fail, either technically or for human reasons or whatever. Keep your own records of sickness. Keep it in your diary. Stephen's sick again today. Because if you do need to take any action around sickness, then you need to have that record. You need to have that pattern of illness. And patterns of illnesses come up all over the place. I know someone who she had a pattern of, she'd go on holiday, and the week after a holiday she called in sick every time. Every time she called in sick that week after a holiday. Why? Why? There was the classic of the person who parties all weekend and calls in sick every Monday, and for some reason they think we don't notice. Strange, that one, isn't it? So, you know, all that kind of thing. So records are really, really useful to help you minimise the sickness. Please be firm about this. Simply follow this easy process, and show yourself to be that fair, humane, but reliable manager that follows process. Because there's nothing more irritating than somebody who thinks they can just call in sick and they can just get away with it. Not just inconvenient to you, but very inconvenient to their team members who are covering for them. And those team members who are covering for them, they're going to be really cross with you that you're not saying anything or doing anything about it. So don't be that manager. Be the manager that manages sickness. Take care. Bye.